not too long ago, and I don't know how it came up, but my son was responding to the question, where did we humans come from? And I sounded like Gough Whitlam then. And I think he might have been the one who asked the question, and in order for him to answer it. Or never ask a question to which you don't know the answer already, and he did. He also knows which came first, the chicken or the egg. I think he decided the chicken. Yeah, but we'll get back to that now. And I think you might be right on that one actually, but I'm not going to think it through. I'd have to think right back to, single cell and multi-cell organisms, and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, they weren't eggs, were they? And yet they're the chicken, aren't they? Anyway, that aside, he answered his own question, and he answered it like this. Well, I'm not going to tell you yet. First, I want to tell you how other people answer that question. Well, in a variety of ways. And some people, preacher types. They might say Adam and Eve, and then go on to, have a laugh about those scientists who keep getting things wrong, putting up theory after theory and getting it wrong. And then coming up with new theories to replace the old theories and all that sort of thing. Look, they're putting aside the fact that the scientists like being wrong. If a scientist makes a great discovery, spends 10 years discovering something, back-breaking, painstaking work, making a great discovery, or coming up with a great theory, what's the first thing a true scientist does after putting aside 10 years of backbreaking work to come up with a wonderful theory? He hopes like hell that someone proves him wrong. And that's the difference between a scientist and a preacher. You can't compare the two things. Where a preacher, he wants to be proved right, and he'll make sure he's proved right, regardless of the evidence. But I don't want to put preachers down. And my son didn't either in his response, which I'll come to very shortly. Notwithstanding that there are many preachers who are scientists, and good ones too. And to be a theologist, to be a good one, it takes as much genius as it does to become a good scientist. There's no doubt about that in my mind, but I don't want to go into that either. But, it's true. All right. In fact, it's even harder being a theologist, because sometimes you have to make the wrong evidence work. Whereas a scientist, there's a little bit more of an open book on that. But anyway, that's some people, that's preachers, they'll say Adam and Eve. And anyone who thinks otherwise is an idiot. Now, you also get scientists on the other side of the fence and, people who like science. And those people might say, well, we evolved from apes, and we still are apes. And I think we are, but that's just me, And those people might say those preachers are idiots. So they're playing the same game as the preachers on that level. Getting their knickers in a knot, and maybe even one of my favourite scientists who gets stuck into preachers, what's his name? He's a geologist from Australia, from South Australia. What's his name? I've read a book of his. He was really good. I can't remember his name now. But he even got sued by a group of born-again Christians or something. He got sued for defaming them or something. Oh, God. Hang on, I'm getting interrupted. Can you go in there? I'm in the middle of doing something. So you try and squeeze these things in. Shut the door. Right. Now, but then That was my son. So we'll get back to him now. He asked that question too. Who was I talking about? Oh yeah, the scientists. Yes. Notwithstanding though, by the way, that some scientists are also preachers. But I already talked about them, didn't I? Okay, now my son asked the same question of himself. Where did we come from? And the way he answered that question was like this. He didn't get his knickers in a knot like a preacher, or some scientists, you know, like some scientists and some preachers. He simply said, I forget. No, I don't. Well, there's a religious answer to that. There's a scientific answer to that. And that was that. Yeah. And I had to sort of say to myself, he's right. There's no need to get your knickers in a knot or even bother trying to resolve that problem you have when you're a kid and you go to religious education class and learn about Adam and Eve, and and then the same teacher comes into your science class and teaches you that about dinosaurs. You know, that's often unnerving for a kid. You say, hang on, in that classroom over there you said, and now you're saying, what? I don't like that. Look, kids like that are bright in one way, and I think my son, yeah, but that's in a knickers in your knot way, you know. That's bright, being bright in a knickers in your knot way. In the odd ways, you know. My son, I think I like his style, you know. Why bother getting your knickers in a knot, you know? There's a religious answer to that question, you know. For example, Adam and Eve, or whatever the other religious, you know, rainbow serpents and all that sort of. Right, there are religious answers to that question. Okay, can live with that. Then there are scientific answers to that question. And I think he's suggesting that as far as he's concerned, those two different types of answer can live side by side. There's no need to resolve them. You can't anyway. So, much like monkeys, we monkeys used to live side by side with each other. There was no need to kind of, way back then, before 40,000 years or whatever it was, there was no need back then to say, we're human and you're not, I bet. I bet you if you were back then, and you asked a Neanderthal, are you the only sort of intelligent kind of life forms, made in God's image, whatever you want to call it, on Earth? No. Because, there were all sorts of human mobs, different species roaming around. He said, no, they're pretty smart too, those Homo sapiens bastards. They're pretty smart too, and we're smart. There's other ones too we know about. There's all sorts of ones. There was Denisovans. There was, down in Africa there was quite a few, I think. Everywhere there was quite a few pretty intelligent humans, all different, not the same species. If 200 years ago, if you asked anybody, are we the only kind of, way at the top of the tree intelligent life forms? Well, unique. Most people would have said, yes, we are. But 40,000 years ago, most people, intelligent people, and not all of them our own species, would have said, no, we know some others. So I wouldn't say we were miles better than them. They all do rock art and speak, and use tools and pretty clever, all that sort of stuff. You can chat to them. I reckon they're dumber than us, but not that much dumber. They're still humans. What is this word human anyway? We don't even have that word yet because we are 40,000 years ago. But just like all those kind of, this is not a very good metaphor or an analogy or anything like that, but what my son is suggesting, just let it be. Let the religious people have their answer. and let the scientists have their answer, and just do your own thing, relax. You know, I think that's what he's getting at. So I think he'll be fine if he has to go into religious education on some days and then science on other days. In fact, he already does that because he's getting into the higher grades now. He's in grade 4. He's getting there. His birthday soon too. Double figures. All right, but you know, I like his style. Let everyone, unless, oh, I suppose, unless it's hurting you. But that's always the way, isn't it? Okay, that'll do.